Have you ever felt like a ghost in your own life? You're there. You're present. You're the one holding everything together. You're the one who remembers the birthdays, who sends the "Are you okay?" text after a long silence, who stays up late to finish a project so a colleague doesn't have to. You're the shoulder everyone cries on, the rock everyone leans on, the safety net everyone takes for granted. And at the end of the day, when the house is quiet and the phone stops ringing, you look in the mirror and you can barely recognize the person staring back. There's a profound, hollow exhaustion that has nothing to do with being tired. It's the exhaustion of invisibility. It's the feeling of pouring everything you have into cups that are already full, or worse, have holes in the bottom. This brings us to a really uncomfortable paradox of human connection. Why do we continue to invest so much of our love, our energy, and our very essence into people and situations that give us absolutely nothing back? We mistake this feeling of being completely drained for devotion. We tell ourselves that this is what love is supposed to feel like, a noble sacrifice. But it's not love, it's self-abandonment. And this pattern of giving until you're empty doesn't just look one way. It wears different masks, it has different motivations, but the end result is always the same. You're left feeling depleted and alone, wondering why your best is never quite enough. Let's look at some of the most common profiles of the chronic overgiver, and maybe you'll see a reflection of yourself in one of them. First, there's the fixer. You might recognize this person immediately. The fixer isn't drawn to partners, they're drawn to projects. They see a person's brokenness not as a red flag, but as an invitation. They see the untapped potential, the wounded inner child, the misunderstood genius buried under layers of self-destruction, and they think, I can save them. Their love is a form of rescue. Psychologically, this isn't about genuine connection with the person in front of them. It's about validating their own worth through the act of healing someone else. Their self-esteem is directly tied to their ability to transform another human being. The underlying belief is, if I can fix them, then I must be valuable. If I can make them whole, then I won't feel so empty myself. In practice, this looks like dating the person with a history of addiction, believing your love will be the cure. It's being friends with someone who is constantly in a crisis, and you are the designated emergency contact, the late-night therapist, the financial bailout. You spend all your energy managing their life, their emotions, their chaos, and you call it love. But the tragic twist is that the fixer doesn't actually know what to do with a healthy, stable person. A person who doesn't need saving offers no purpose, no project. And so, they remain in a cycle of seeking out damage because repair is the only way they know how to feel worthy of love. Then we have the peacemaker. This is the person whose personal motto is, it's fine. I don't mind, even when they are screaming on the inside. The peacemaker will sacrifice their own needs, their opinions, and their boundaries on the altar of harmony. Conflict is their greatest fear, so they will do anything to avoid it. They believe that keeping everyone happy is more important than their own happiness. Deep down, this isn't about being easygoing. It's a survival strategy rooted in a profound fear of rejection and abandonment. The peacemaker learned somewhere along the way that their needs were an inconvenience, that their true feelings could rock the boat and cause people to leave. So, they became a chameleon. They learned to blend in, to agree, to shrink themselves to fit into the spaces left by others. You see this in the friend who agrees to go to a restaurant they hate because they don't want to be difficult. You see it in the partner who never voices a complaint, quietly absorbing disappointment after disappointment, hoping their partner will just magically notice. They swallow their truth to keep the peace. But what they don't realize is that they are slowly erasing themselves from the relationship. You cannot be truly loved if you are not truly known. And the peacemaker ensures they are never fully known, all in the name of a fragile, artificial peace. Next, let's talk about the provider. For this person, love is a verb, but it's a very specific kind of verb. It's about doing, giving, and providing, often in tangible ways. Their affection is demonstrated through acts of service, financial support, or lavish gifts. They operate from a core belief that their presence alone is not enough. They feel they must constantly earn their spot in someone's life. Their internal monologue is something like, "If I stop doing all these things for them, they will realize I have nothing to offer and they will leave me." This isn't just about being generous. It's about a deep-seated insecurity that they are not inherently worthy of love. Their value is conditional, based entirely on their utility. This is the person who works tirelessly to pay for everything while their partner's dreams are prioritized. It's the friend who always insists on paying the bill, who is always the one to offer their car, their time, their home, without ever asking for anything in return. They are so busy proving their worth through their actions that they don't notice that the relationship has become completely one-sided. The other person has become accustomed to receiving, and the provider has become trapped in a role they created, feeling more like a resource than a person who is loved for who they are. Finally, we have the eternal apologizer. This person's vocabulary is littered with the word sorry. They apologize for having needs. They apologize for having feelings. They apologize when someone else bumps into them. They even apologize for apologizing too much. This pattern goes far beyond simple politeness. It's a mechanism for absorbing all the negative emotion in a room to make others comfortable. Psychologically, the eternal apologizer has learned that it is safer to be at fault than to hold someone else accountable. They take responsibility for their partner's bad mood, for a friend's disappointment, for a boss's stress. Their own existence feels like an inconvenience. They tiptoe through life, trying to take up as little space as possible. This manifests in apologizing for needing help, for being sick, or for simply expressing a desire that might conflict with someone else's. For example, they might say, "I'm so sorry to bother you, but would it be okay if we watched a movie I like tonight?" The apology frames their need as a burden from the very start. By constantly taking the blame, they create a dynamic where they are always in the wrong, and the other person is always absolved. It's a painful way to live, constantly seeking forgiveness for the simple, human act of being yourself. So if you see yourself in the fixer, the peacemaker, the provider, or the eternal apologizer, the most important question isn't what you're doing, but why. These deeply ingrained patterns are almost never a conscious choice. They aren't character flaws. They are survival strategies. They are the ghosts of old lessons you learned in childhood about how to secure love, safety, and connection when you were at your most vulnerable. Think about it. The fixer, who is drawn to chaos, may have grown up with a parent who was emotionally volatile or an addict. As a child, they had to become the little adult, learning to manage moods, predict crises, and provide stability. Their own childhood needs were pushed aside because a bigger, more urgent problem always took precedence. They learned that their value wasn't in being a child, but in being a manager of someone else's brokenness. So now, as an adult, A healthy, stable relationship feels foreign and unnerving. Calm feels like the prelude to a storm, and they subconsciously seek out the familiar chaos they know how to navigate. The peacemaker likely grew up in a home filled with conflict, a place where expressing a different opinion, having a need, or showing negative emotion was met with yelling, the silent treatment, or punishment. They learned a powerful lesson. To be safe, you must be invisible. To be loved, you must agree. Your authentic self is a threat to the family's fragile peace. So they became masters of self-suppression. They learned to read the room, anticipate what others wanted, and morph into that shape. The cost was their own identity, but the reward was a temporary feeling of safety. As an adult, that fear of conflict is so deeply wired that they will sacrifice anything, their dreams, their values, their happiness, to avoid it, confusing the absence of fighting with the presence of love. And what about the provider? Their childhood may have been less about overt conflict and more about conditional affection. They were praised for their achievements, for being helpful, for being useful. Love and attention were rewards for good performance. They learned that their inherent worth wasn't a given. It had to be earned through their contributions. They were loved for what they did, not for who they were. This creates an adult who is terrified of being still, of just being present in a relationship without a task to perform. They constantly have to prove their utility because they carry a deep-seated fear that if they stop giving, they will be seen as worthless and ultimately be abandoned. And the eternal apologizer often comes from a childhood with a highly critical or demanding parent, where they were frequently blamed for things outside of their control. They were the scapegoat for a parent's stress or frustration. Sorry became a shield, a magic word to de-escalate a tense situation and hopefully avoid punishment. They internalized the belief that they were fundamentally flawed, a burden, and that their needs were a source of trouble. So now, they walk through the world taking the blame for everything, because it feels safer to be at fault than to risk someone else's anger. Do you see the common thread here? All of these patterns are born from the same fundamental, heartbreaking myth: the belief that love is something you have to earn. It is not something you are inherently worthy of simply by existing. It must be won through fixing, through pleasing, through providing, or through apologizing. And when you operate from this belief system, you become a magnet for people who are takers. You attract partners and friends who are perfectly comfortable with you doing all the work, because you've advertised from the very beginning that this is the role you want to play. You have taught them exactly how to treat you. Here is the most difficult truth of all. The reason you feel unseen is because you have made yourself invisible. You cannot receive genuine love if you are not genuinely present. When you abandon yourself, by silencing your voice to keep the peace, by turning yourself into a human-sized toolbox, by making your life's mission someone else's healing, or by apologizing for your own existence, you are removing your true self from the equation. There is no one there for the other person to actually love. They may love what you do for them. They may love how you make them feel. But they cannot love you because you are hiding. The emptiness you feel is the space where you are supposed to be. And the profound tragedy is that while you wait for someone else to finally see you and fill that void, you are the only one who can choose to step back into it. It's not about blaming them. It's about recognizing your own role in the dynamic you've created. So, where do you see yourself in these patterns? Are you the exhausted fixer, wondering when it will be your turn to be taken care of? Are you the silent peacemaker whose resentment is quietly building behind a forced smile? Are you the tired provider, feeling more like a function than a person? Or are you the perpetual apologizer, weary of feeling like a mistake? Recognizing the pattern is not an admission of failure. It is the first, most courageous act of reclaiming yourself. It's the moment you stop looking outward for a love that will rescue you and start looking inward at the person you've been leaving behind for far too long. You deserve a connection that fills you up, not one that drains you dry. And that connection has to start with yourself. I'd really appreciate it if you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Your support allows me to continue creating content that explores these deep, often unspoken parts of our human experience. Thank you for being here and for being willing to look within.